It's awfully hard when I don't understand what God is doing. It takes real faith to trust in God when I don't understand why God has allowed certain things to happen. But I am convinced that God's ways are better than my ways. And I'm convinced that his ways are far wiser than my ways.
It's one thing to worship God because you've got a nice house, because you've got a nice car, because everything's good, because all your people are blessed. That's wonderful. But it's another thing to worship God in spite of trials and bars and chains and tribulations and heartbreaks and tears. When you can do it then, when you can praise in pain, when you can lift your voice and say, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. I don't praise you because of, I praise you in spite of my hardships. You're worthy of the praise. It's not about you. It's about him.
Do not be afraid. We know all things work together for good. When you have that attitude, it takes the adversity that you're in and it shapes you and it molds you. When you have that attitude, you look at struggle as a season for you to gain strength and for it to pour the rock-ribbed confidence into your soul that God is on his throne and everything is going to be all right. When you have that attitude that we know all things work together, you can say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be made glad in it.
Because the man of faith has the promise of God that God is going to take care of him, that God is going to supply. And the man of faith realizes that God has means that he isn't aware of. God has resources that I don't know anything about. And thus, though things look to be hopeless and dark, yet I don't look at the circumstances. The man of faith looks at the Lord, who is above all of our circumstances. And he doesn't look to his own abilities, but he looks to God's ability to take care of him and to supply for him. And thus he rejoices because God is on the throne and God has promised to take care of me.
Today I want you to make the decision wherever you are to rejoice. Rejoice that you're saved. Rejoice that the blood of Jesus is strong enough to conquer every sin and every shackle of shame in your past. It is strong enough to conquer every disease and every sickness in your body. It is strong enough to protect you. Rejoice that God has a plan for you. He has a plan to prosper you and not to harm you. He has a plan that is far better than you could ask, think, or imagine. Rejoice that in the darkest of midnights, the name of the Lord is a light and it is a salvation. Rejoice that in the midst of the storm, you are worshiping the master of the wind. Rejoice that in an hour of need, he is still El Shaddai, the all-sufficient one. Rejoice that in a day of trouble, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. Child of God, you have a reason to rejoice today.